Hello, good evening and welcome to the Independence Day edition of UPfront. Today, we are going back to a more recent decision by the President of the Republic of Ghana to write to the opposition in response to their letter, demanding a couple of things before that particularly important meeting on disbanding party militia that's happened. The President, in that statement, among other things, stated categorically that he is dismayed at the request made by the NDC, and also he dismissed as misrepresentation claims that the current ongoing commission on the Yawasu West work on violence has actually fingered the NPP of doing some wrongs. This and more are what we'll be discussing today with the man who speaks for the opposition NDC. So, is the NDC finally going to go into these meetings, even though the president, after all that you said, is insisting that's the way forward? Is the NDC boycotting it? And what's the way forward in dealing with these groups? Groups that have become notorious, groups that have been frowned upon by the citizens of this country, and yet still remain within the bosom of the various political parties. After the break, we'll start our conversation. You're welcome back. This is UPfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. As I did tell earlier, I'll give you the clue that my guest speaks for the NDC. The National Communications Officer of the NDC is Sami Jeffy. Sami, you're welcome to UPfront.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well today.
By the grace of
God. I mean, 62 years as a state, have you really come far?
We've had a checkered history, but I believe that we need to be thankful to the Almighty God for how far He has brought us. We are not there yet. We still have a lot of work to do, but I believe that we also have some reasons to celebrate because it's been 62 years since we broke away from the vestiges of colonialism and imperialism. And even though we could have done better, I don't think we've done bad either. So congratulations to all of us, and let us use this day to reflect on the need for us to be patriotic and very nationalistic in the way we do our politics. It must be about the interests of Ghana and nothing more. We must see politics as a vehicle of for improving on the lives of our people and making our country better. Once we do that, and we do it well, politics will become what it is supposed to be.
That's interesting, especially coming from a politician. Now, before we move beyond that, in 2013, Benjamin Komla, Podo of the NDC, whole central MP then, made a proposal that we should rotate the venue for the celebration of the day. Indeed, he even said that we should build a national effigy wherever we take it, be it a square or any of the other symbolic elements that we can put up in some of these places. It looks like somewhere in 2019, this particular claim has found some goodwill with the current government and is being implemented as is being seen in today's celebration as Tamale. Good direction, good move?
Obviously, it's a laudable initiative. It's in line with the need for decentralization of not just developmental projects, but the programs of government. And so I think it's a step in the right direction. We need to sustain it and make sure that it leads to an improvement in the lives of the people. Yes, we, for the first time, have had our Cease March, celebrations outside Accra. But how can we enhance the process moving on to ensure that the people of the various regions who will be having the opportunity to host this important national event, can also benefit culturally, socially, and most importantly, economically. So it's a step in the right direction, and I believe that we must sustain it.
The NDC will continue this when it comes into power in the nearest
I don't know why you want to reduce it into MPP NDC football. This is Cease March.
It's a very simple question. You speak for
the government.
Is this something that the NDC will continue?
Like I told you, it is a laudable initiative, and I believe it is something the NDC would want to, continue.
Thank you. One other laudable initiative was the decision by the executive president during his State of the Nations address to call on you in the NDC and the governing party to have a dialogue of a sort, dialogue aimed at making sure that we deal with this party militia grouping thing once and for all in a more conclusive manner. The NDC wrote to government and made some demands and requests and made some statements. You have seen the president's response to the NDC, right?
Yes, I have.
What was your immediate reaction to that particular response?
Thank you very much, Raymond. I can confirm to you that yesterday we received the president's letter in response to a letter that our national chairman has sent to him. But frankly speaking, the content of that letter is very disappointing, to say the least. If you look at the dismissive and the overly defensive tone of the letter, you would agree with me that the letter was earnest, unfortunate, and unprecedented. We had expected something better from our president, and I think this doesn't help the process of ensuring that we have a strong national collective effort to end the menace of political violence. The president addressed 4 key issues in the letter, 2 of which are blatant, falsehood. The remaining 2 are clearly misconceived and reflects a certain misunderstanding of the problem at hand. And we have already expressed our reservations about the position of the president, and we've indicated that we are still committed to the process, and we will continue to impress on the president and the MPP to heed our request, because we believe that, taking on board the proposals we have made will enhance the process, broaden, the consensus that we are trying to build, expand the scope of the dialogue, so that at the end of the day, we can have a solution that works for everybody. Let me explain to you why I say that 2 of the 4 claims the president, makes in this letter are totally false. First of all, they claim that government is not recruiting and training, thugs for purposes of the upcoming 2020 general elections. Raymond, I know that you will agree with me that the president was not candid and was not fair to the facts, because we are all aware of the letter signed by the Upper West Regional Security Liaison Officer addressed to some constituency MPP chairman in the Upper West region. As a matter of fact, I am informed that your network, Joy FM, has conducted investigations into that matter, and you have confirmed it beyond any reasonable doubt. You've authenticated it that indeed there is an ongoing recruitment and training of MPP activists for purposes of the upcoming, 2020 general elections. And so the president was not candid. He was not sincere when he said that that claim or that assertion that we had made, was false. Quite apart from that, he denies flatly that neither the MPP nor government has sponsored MPP thugs into the national security apparatus of this country.
And that any such decision has not been taken, any will not be taken in the nearest future, so you can be rest assured this will at best
that's another falsehood he peddled, and we all know that, because we know that the leader of the Delta forces of the MPP in the Ashanti region, called Bamba, has been integrated into the national security. He currently works at the Tema. Bamba, that is his name. He was the one who granted all the interviews for the Delta forces when they attacked the Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer. You understand? We also know of Double, a man who claims that he is a polling station chairman. Yeah. At least we know. I have been on a program with Samia Oku, national organizer of the MPP, where he has admitted that indeed the gentleman in question was his bodyguard. And we know that...
But the dispute about Double was whether or not he was a member of the Invisible Forces. He has denied that flatly.
Do you believe that cock and bull story?
No, the
Do you
man
believe that?
The man was under oath.
Listen.
The man was under oath.
Samia Uku
He
says
made
the man is his
declarative
bodyguard.
statements.
Samia Uku says the man is his
But
bodyguard.
the contention is not about whether he's a bodyguard or not.
Have you seen
contention
an
is whether or
ordinary
not-
polling station chairman being a bodyguard of a key leading political personality like a national organizer of a political party?
Again, that's an
So,
extrapolation that can be done.
we
But
know-
my question
We
is,
know.
what's the evidence from
Put
the NDC
double
that
aside.
the
Listen,
gentleman
put double aside. I've
is
already-
actually an invisible force member? Because he's denied it openly and flatly.
You see, it is not
And
about
he's
what he
given his
says.
history, his working history.
It is not about what he says, which I know you yourself don't believe. It is about
But I want
what
proof to
we
be able to
know.
believe.
It's about what the facts say. We know that this gentleman was a bodyguard of Samia Uku. Samia Uku has publicly admitted that. I'm sure you've seen pictures
that's a
of
point you
him
make
and Samia
consistently.
Uku. And you know that Samia Uku will not take any regular person as his bodyguard.
He's not giving me his criteria for recruiting
How do you
bodyguards.
tell me that his account that he used to live in Togo, came to Ghana, sold phones, heard of recruitment of people into national security, applied, was vetted, and in a matter of 3 weeks, he was given some training in how to read maps and how to talk on Guta at Aswachare, and after that, he was made a national security operative working at the VVIP lounge at the Kutuka International Airport. That story sounds to you like a credible story. So let's not play the ostrich. We know that the gentleman is lying. But even put double aside, I've spoken to you about Bamba. Look at the admission of the National Security Minister of this country, Honorable Kandapa, when he himself appeared before the Short Commission. He made a point that the ear-ringed, bearded, a pot-belly, so-called national security operatives, the Azugu Max operatives we saw at Ayawaso West Wagon, could possibly include former members of MPP militia groups.
Possibly,
Raymond,
yeah.
let us apply common sense. If there are no members of MPP militia groups in our national security, why would there be a possibility that the men we saw at Ayawaso West Wagon could include members of MPP militia groups? That possibility will be zero. It will not exist. So the mere fact that a possibility exists, according to the National Security Minister, should tell you that indeed some of these guys have found their way into our national security as a result of a deliberate policy by this government. I was in the Ashanti region when members of the Delta forces of the MPP attacked the Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer of this government. The Minister of National Security, Kandapa, came to the region and granted an interview with a radio station called Silver FM. The host of that program is called Oheneba. In that interview, he appealed to the members of the Delta forces to exercise patience, and that government was going to keep its promise to them and actually recruit them into the national security. That was what he said on radio.
The National Security Minister.
Exactly, the National Security Minister, and that is what they have carried out.
Specifically when?
This happened few days after they attacked the Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer. He came to the Ashanti region, met with them, appealed to them to be calm and exercise patience. Because you remember, do you know what led to that attack? The bone of, if you like, the problem of the Delta forces, the problem they had was that they didn't know this security coordinator the president had, appointed. And they felt that once he was a stranger to them, the promise the MPP had made to them that they would be recruited into the national security would not be kept. And so they wanted somebody they had worked with, somebody they knew. And that was what that whole issue, that whole fracas was about. And Kandapa went there to assure them that don't worry, exercise patience, we will recruit you. And subsequent to that, Bamba, their leader, has been recruited. We will very soon, the NDC will be publishing names of members of the Delta forces of the MPP and the invisible forces of the MPP, the Kandahar boys, the voter crocodiles, and so on, who have all been integrated into the national security. So evidence abounds that this is. We will do that. Already I've given you names. I have told you about the admission of the National Security Minister.
Double in a doubtful nature.
I've spoken to you about Bamba.
And a certain Bamba that
don't talk about a certain Bamba. Google Bamba. Bamba granted interviews with Adom FM. He granted interviews with stations affiliated to multimedia. The videos are out there. He spoke on television. He spoke on Joy News. You did the story, and he spoke as a leader of the Delta Force. So that is the point we are making here. Let's not deny the obvious.
Baba.
Lawyer Martin Pebu.
I will check up with the person.
He is known as Bamba.
Anybody can claim to be
that is how he's introduced when he is called by the media. That is how he calls himself. That is a name by which Lawyer Martin Pebu called him on Newsfile just this weekend. These are matters of public record, so I'm surprised you are not aware of, knowing very well that you are very, you are well researched. I don't know whether you're pretending, but these are matters of public record that I expect you to know.
Provide evidence to me. I'm not relying on what somebody has said on another platform. This is why I'm asking you to prove what you're saying to me. But all that you've given me is one Bamba has been speaking. And I'm saying that. What's the full name of this gentleman called?
I don't know his real name, but I know that he's called Bamba. And I know that he's the leader of the MPP's Delta Forces. If you Google his name right now, you will see his pictures. When we go for, a break, I will make sure that I Google his name. I'll get you online publications, of interviews he has granted, identifying himself as the leader of the MPP's Delta Forces. And I'm telling you,
of the opinion that this Bamba gentleman has been recruited into which...
It is not a matter of opinion. It is a fact that he now works with the national security and he works at the Tema port. And that is something you can cross-check. I am putting my credibility on the line.
At the airport?
At the Tema port.
The Tema port?
Yes, please.
What does he do there?
He has been deployed by national security, just like Bamba has been deployed to the VIP lounge of Kotoka International Airport. Double, sorry. He has also been deployed to Tema port. So they are in the system, and the MPP knows that what we are saying is factual. So there again, the president was not sincere. But there are two very serious issues that I believe the president is being simplistic in his approach and in his position on these very important matters. You remember that we made the proposal that because this issue of political vigilantism or political hooliganism, because the issue borders on the peace and stability of this country, because it borders on the security and the democracy of this country, we need a concerted effort. We need a national approach to dealing with this matter. And so we suggested to His Excellency that it would be necessary for us to expand the dialogue to include key stakeholders in our democratic process, like the media, like civil society organizations, like all other political parties in this country, and so on. The president dismisses that, request and says it is not necessary. There is no basis for that because these groups do not own vigilante groups, and so there is no need to bring them into this discussion. And we are totally shocked. We are amazed that the president would say something like that, especially when... Is it
that you're of the opinion that they own vigilante groups, the groups he's talking about?
Not at all. If you look at paragraph 1 of the president's letter, Raymond, he concedes the fact that indeed we need a national effort to deal with this problem.
In fact, he actually applauds the NDC for admitting that there's a need in that particular area.
So why would a president in one breath says, I support the fact that we need a national effort, and in another breath he says that this should be an NDC MPP matter? Let's not involve any other stakeholders. Let's not involve the media. Let's not involve the NCC.
Did the tone of your letter, forgive me, suggest that you were asking for others to be involved because you felt they owned, operated, or probably had been engaged in vigilante groups?
Not at all. We indicated that all these stakeholders have been doing some work on this issue of political vigilantism. They have their own perspectives. Raymond, I'm sure that if you or if your colleagues are part of this discussion, you will bring on board your own perspectives, like Evans Mensah did when he appeared before the Short Commission. And I believe that all these perspectives, the issues, will help us to discuss issues thoroughly and dispassionately so that we can find a solution that works for everybody. This issue
that
of
was the
political
spirit with which the NDC actually asked for the inclusion of this group.
Just to expand the process, to broaden the consensus building process, because Ghana is not for NDC MPP. This culture of reducing everything to NDC MPP football, it is something that we must shelve. It doesn't help anybody. These issues border on elections. It borders on security. Issues of security, issues of peace, issues of democracy affects all of us. And that is why even the clergy is speaking. You heard over the weekend what Bishop, Ajinasare said. They are all interested in the matter.
Yeah.
The media is interested in the matter. Joy FM, you've been waging a campaign on this matter. The NCC has been doing so. Raymond, tell me, what does it spoil? What will be destroyed? What will be distorted? If the president says, we welcome the suggestion, let us incorporate the media, other civil society organizations, other political parties into this discussion, into this process, so that we can have a collective, all-inclusive, approach to dealing with this matter. What does it spoil?
On the flip side, what does it add to this? If the two political parties outside the confines of all the other groups that have been mentioned in this case meet and say we have agreed that we are ending this matter, so it doesn't become a talk shop with all other participants being involved just to participate in this conversation, when we all know what is required. What is required is disband them, let go of these groups, don't support them, don't give them any currency. Do you necessarily lose anything if these two units are
I'm
the
sure
only
that you
group
have followed proceedings before the short commission.
Very much so.
And you followed evidence and testimonies before the commission that suggests that the issue of political vigilantism sometimes are started by individuals, and that sometimes it even goes beyond political parties. We in the NDC have issued a statement that even though we admit that individual members of our party are involved in some vigilante groups and all that, as a political party, as a corporate body, we have neither formed nor sponsored any militia group in this country.
Not yet.
I heard the General Secretary of the MPP also arguing along similar lines. And so the matter is not an MPP-NDC matter. And you must also understand the fact that...
How do I take your words to be the true representation of the party's own direction, when in the same seat that you sat, national organizer of the party says, don't worry, from what has happened, we're already forming our own and we'll increase the number?
Who said that?
That is Joshua Kamba. Again, the youth organizer, clearly in the same seat that you sat, is insisting that no matter what happens, the NDC, and this is before the short commission and all of that, would actually make sure that it protects itself by forming some of these groups. I insisted those were no words that ought to be uttered by members of your party, but they said
I am not
no
very
way.
sure.
I'm quoting a third person.
If you are talking about
the constituency chairman of the Yawasu West World, after the incident, said to him, the best way for the NPP to understand the kind of politics they are doing with the NDC is for them to form a movement.
Clearly, in the heat of the state-sponsored, brutalities on members of the NDC.
But I mentioned 3 people
during the Ayawaso West. I want to deal with the last one. I'll deal with all the other ones. In the aftermath of the Ayawaso West Wogon by-elections, I think that it was to be expected that aggrieved members of the NDC were going to speak, with that tone, because obviously they are seeing the atrocities which had been meted to our members, how people had been shot, how people had been beaten to pulp, people, standing the risk of losing their legs, some stood the risk of losing their eyes and all that. So as constituency chairman, if he spoke, in that atmosphere and indicated that the NDC was also going to form similar groups, I think we can pardon him. But that obviously doesn't represent the position of the National Democratic Congress.
I get your point.
I have not listened to the interviews by the youth organizer and the organizer that you allude to. But what I am communicating to you is the official position of the party, that we do not subscribe to the formation of militia groups. We think that Ghana is the only country we have. Okay. It is important that we all strive for peace, to ensure that all elections that we have in this country are violent-free, peaceful, and all that. So we are committed to that process, and I believe that we have demonstrated enough commitment to that process.
Really. I get you. Let me take a break. When I come back,
okay.
We'll continue with Upfront. My guest today is National Communications Officer of the NDC. You do recall that the President responded to the NDC's letter, making some demands for a better engagement to be able to disband their party militia. The President's response and what the NDC is going to do going forward. And now to finally put a nail in the coffin of this particular issue to do with party militia is the crux of our conversation today on Upfront. We'll talk about this after the break. You welcome back. This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. On the Independence Day edition of Upfront, my guest is National Communications Officer of the NDC. Just yesterday, the President has responded to the NDC's request and some statements they have made in their letter to the Executive President of the Republic of Ghana. Indeed, the letter, which went straight and attention the National Chairman of the NDC, also made some counterclaims and also dismissed some of the things that the NDC actually demanded. What is the way forward for the NDC? Where are we in our disband party militia talks? And will this lead to any continued engagement? Has the talks, which is yet to start, already broken down? Is there bad faith displayed in this particular process? Those are the issues that we are interrogating today on Upfront. And you're welcome back, sir.
Yeah, Raymond, thank you.
So we are dealing with three things. Okay, we've dealt with three things out of the four issues that were basically raised in the President's statement.
Yeah, that's good.
He first and foremost dismissed two issues he felt the NDC was actually put in the wrong context or probably misunderstanding. Instead, it's at best a misrepresentation of what they call it, what government means and what is being supposed to be done. And moved on to say that the other issue, which is there are two more other issues that were on the other side of request the NDC made. First, open it up to all others who are participants and let's say stakeholders in this particular engagement. The President dismissed that. Then there's the last one about demanding for a mediator, that these talks ought to not happen between just the two political parties. In fact, there are calls that the NDC says maybe the Peace Council, the body that's supposed to be fairly neutral in the affairs of this country with the ultimate aim of ensuring that we are a peaceful state. But that was not, okay, I didn't get a clear direction from the President in that. He seemed to suggest that he's dismayed that the two political parties can deal with their own issues. He doesn't think that they should be involved necessarily. But I didn't get a clear-cut signal that says they will not.
You see, I think that issue in the President letter was the most, unfortunate part of the President letter. His description of the mediator we proposed being the National Peace Council and other facilitators we had proposed, like the CDD, the Kofi Annan International Peace Center, developmental partners like the UNDP, as outsiders to our democracy, Raymond, was most shocking. Because the fact is, the National Peace Council is not an outsider to the democracy of this country. The National Peace Council is a statutory body. It is an institution established by the laws of this country, given a mandate to promote peace in this country. And they've been part of our democratic experiment for a very long time. Their contributions to the gains we have made are very enormous. And I don't know why our President described them as outsiders. They are not outsiders.
Prior to 2022 and 2016 elections, you do recall, they led the Kumasi Accord, the Accra Accord,
exactly,
mainly to say that sign a peace pact.
Exactly.
That,
so they've been part of similar processes in the past. They themselves have taken special interest in this, menace of political violence, which is gradually becoming a monster. The NCC has taken similar interest in the matter. Same for the CDD and the UNDP. And you know that the UNDP in particular has been one of the pioneers of our peace architecture. If you look at the history of the National Peace Council, they've been one of the major forces behind its introduction, its institutionalization, and so on and so forth. And in fact, they've been financing elections in this country, Raymond. So for me, I think that it was in bad taste for the President to have described them as outsiders to our democracy and to the issue, at stake. They are not outsiders.
Well,
the UNDP.
Can you not understand this to be in the context, in this case specifically, of I think that the political parties can deal with their problems. Because see the kind of background he gave. He talked about you constituting the current parliament, the NPP and the NDC, you having produced the leaders of the country in the last 7
Why is it that when we go for
had?
IPAC, we don't restrict IPAC to NPP and NDC? Why do we include other political parties? If today, the NDC and the NPP should decide that let's discourage the formation of political militia groups, let's discourage the activities and all that, and tomorrow the PNC or the CPP decide to form one, will we have to call another dialogue?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Will we have to call another national dialogue? It is possible, because like I told you, this matter goes beyond NDC and PP. Even the matters at stake and the issues we have raised involve the actual complicity on the part of government. You see, let not the president claim neutrality in this matter. Let not the president claim innocence in this matter, because he and his government have been part of the problem. The president was the leader of the NPP, and it was under his leadership, not too long ago, he was the leader when he was flag bearer. Yeah. And it was under his leadership that the NPP told all of us that they didn't have confidence in our state security agencies, if you remember. It was under his leadership that mercenaries were brought from Serbia and South Africa to train NPP vigilantes on how to assault the pillars of state and so on. We're all in this country when those issues happened. We had to even repatriate 3 of these mercenaries back to their countries. He was the one who said, "Oh, die be die." He was the one who said that and so on and so forth. So he's been part and parcel of the problem. For him to now mount a moral high ground that he doesn't, deserve, and to act as a referee in this matter, I'm not involved, you go and discuss your issues and settle it, and then later I will come in, to see the outcome and all that, doesn't help. Look, we are raising issues. Raymond, before you come in, we are raising issues.
You're saying,
Raymond, if I can just conclude on this point before you come in.
I need to ask you this question. The things you're saying,
if you insist,
that suggests clearly that when the president came out there to say enough is enough, we can fix this by the 2 political parties talking first. And if you don't come to any agreement, I will be compelled to use legislation to deal with the problem.
We have said that
you are of the
we don't need any new legislation to deal with this problem.
I'll come to
in
that.
any case,
but the NDC virtually said that was a step in the right direction. So why do you have a problem with a history of what the president has personally said before?
No. You see, the president made a call. We issued a statement and we said that we've had enough of the talk. We welcome the call. Yes. And in that same statement, we indicated that we've had enough of the talk and the rhetorics. It is now time for us to act in good faith. What is needed is a genuine political will backed by corresponding actions. Because this is not the first time the president is making such a public commitment, to dealing with this matter.
Asked the 2 parties to do it before?
No, you remember that in his first State of the Nation address, he made a public declaration and a public commitment that he was going to deal with this canker of political vigilantism. A few days after that, we saw what happened at Kumasi. We saw what happened after he made a similar call at the Manshia Palace to do for the Asante Hene. We saw what happened a few days after that. So it is not about the fine speeches that our president is known for. It is about taking the necessary actions which can deal with the matter at stake. That is what has been missing in this whole discussion. And that is what we are calling for. We are saying we welcome the call. But these are our own proposals, our own suggestions. Let us expand the dialogue. Let us involve other stakeholders so that indeed we can have a national effort at dealing with this problem. So, Raymond, what is wrong with that?
To you, if these proposals are not granted, there can't be any meaningful dialogue.
We are not saying so. We have indicated clearly that we are still committed to the process. We are not going to resile from our earlier commitments. But we will continue to impress on His Excellency the President, government, and the New Patriotic Party to heed this call. Because we think that any discussion between we and the NPP, like the President is suggesting, will be an exercise in futility.
Really?
at the end, listen to communicators of the MPP on radio and listen to communicators of the NDC, listen to officials of the MPP and officials of the NDC. Do you think that we can sit at the discussion table without a mediator, without any facilitators, without any arbiter, any interlocutor, like the former president, puts it, and come to an amicable, resolution of these issues? Do you think so? We need other stakeholders on board to speak to the issues, to bring their own perspectives. When you are having two feuding parties who in time past have taken entrenched positions on this matter, you don't take a simplistic, position and say, just go and sit down and talk. Either than I will introduce later. This whole talk, Raymond,
categorical.
This whole
this
talk
point for me. I need you to make it categorical for me. Are you saying that if there are no mediators, if there are no third parties, properly or improperly so called, in this particular conversation, the NDC won't engage the MPP?
We are not saying so. We are saying that it is imperative for us to have a broad, multi-stakeholder engagement on this matter.
In the absence of that?
Just like the president is advocating for a certain, approach, we will continue to advocate for the approach we believe in.
I don't get you.
The president is advocating that MPP NDC said that. We are saying that is simplistic. That would be an exercise in futility. We will go and sit there, argue among ourselves, and wouldn't yield any results. We are saying that what we think will work for all of us is that let us involve the media, let us involve civil society organizations, all the political parties, the clergy, the NCC. Government itself is part of the problem. Government must be represented. Because if today it is established, like Joy FM has established, that there are ongoing recruitments and training of MPP thugs for purposes of the upcoming 2020 elections, Freddie Blake cannot deal with that problem. It would take the authority of the president, the authority of government to deal with such a problem. If we are able to establish that indeed members of MPP militia groups have been incorporated into our national security apparatus, Freddie Blake and his executives will not have the locus and the capacity to deal with such issues. We will require the authority of the president, who is the chairman of the National Security Council, to deal with such a problem. And so we need government on board. We need government to be part of this, whole discussion. We need the NCC. We need the CDD. We need Imani. We need the UNDP and so on and so forth. And we believe that when we bring all these stakeholders on board, it will enrich the dialogue process, because they will all come on board with their own perspective, their own experiences, their own understanding, their conceptions about the problem, their own solutions, and it will help us to take this process more serious as political parties. The president, when he made a call, in his 2019 State of the Nation address, you remember that he specifically requested his own political party to write to us. Again, inviting us. He also
said the security institutions will be available.
Exactly.
To provide the needed support.
Find out whether that letter has come to us.
The last time we checked, and the president stated in his letter,
a phone call.
Yes.
You see, that is how. But
petty. Is that not true? Is that not true?
But do you
is
think?
Is that not true? Is it not true that Freddie Blake picked up the phone and contacted?
And was that the first time he was calling the national chairman? You think that an important, indeed,
on the agenda,
indeed,
on the specific agenda post,
he made a phone call to our national chairman.
He did so.
But if you can just hear me out, do you think that we should trivialize this matter this way, reduce it to phone call conversations between party chairmen? This is a serious matter.
All forms of engagement, have some very soft sides to it. These are not aliens to
Raymond, are you telling me
that... I'm saying that it is possible that Freddie Blake's call to Samuel Fosu-Ampofo, was just to say, we want to write to you on this day. These issues that you have raised...
No, that was not what the call was about. He made a call to him. He made a call to him and said, can we meet and have a discussion in relation to the present call that our political parties, sit and discuss these issues. And this was the two men discussing issues, or
he
made a phone call to him, inviting him.
Yes.
When the matter came up, we felt that, yes, it was okay for our national chairman to meet with him and have that discussion. But still, we needed to have to formalize the process, because
but it doesn't take anything out of it. If two national chairmen have a meeting...
Have you forgotten that the president gave an ultimatum of 1 week?
Yes, but that one
that was not done.
You heard the excuse
Why
from
do
the
you
MPP?
continue to hold brief for the MPP and government?
No, hold on.
Don't you see, Raymond? Hold on. I think I need to also take you on.
No.
Because you see, I need to take you on.
Doesn't have MPP representation or any other side.
So you are playing the devil's advocate.
My business.
That's what you're doing.
Is to query what you are saying.
And I think I'm also entitled to also query. And I think I'm also entitled to query
anything. I'm not entitled to answer your questions.
That's fine. Yes. But let me at least ask rhetorical questions.
Don't ask rhetorical questions. That is questioning whether what I'm
Raymond, are you telling me?
Yes.
Okay, you tell me.
I don't want
what is
to
the problem? What is the problem with having the media, with having the Peace Council, with the NDC, both the NDC and the MPP have so much respect for, with having institutions like the CDD, institutions that we are already working with in this country? What is so wrong with having them as part of this process? You tell me.
I cannot find a single reason why it shouldn't be the
case.
But I'm not the president of this republic. I am not the one you are asking to.
You are supposed to be impartial and not neutral. So you see, on important issues like this, especially when your own media house is waging a certain campaign, I think that this position of indifference doesn't help.
No. This is important indifference.
Because I was thinking that you in the media. No, Raymond, I was thinking. Hold on.
I am asking you.
I think that you prepare to be, a panelist. Maybe I should take your role as a host. But the point here is that no, that's all. This is a friendly critique. My point here is that Raymond,
hold on.
I thought that you would even commend the NDC for making the suggestion that the media should be included in this process. On the other hand, you are fighting it.
I'm not fighting it. I'm asking
so do you support it?
I'm asking you the question. If all of the suggested people you are actually insisting should be part of this are not part of this, would you still go ahead and sit with the MPP and discuss this particular?
We have indicated that such an exercise will be an exercise in futility.
You will not do so.
We are not saying that.
Okay,
we are saying that you see. You've asked a question.
Let me ask you this straightforward question. It's a yes or no. Will the NDC sit with the NPP if the demands you made, which is a mediator should be involved, two other parties should be engaged in this one, is not ceded to by the people in power today? Would you still meet the NDC on MPP on this matter?
What I can tell you. What I can tell you.
I want a straightforward answer. I don't want us to.
This is not even allowed. This is not even allowed in the courtroom. Unfortunately, your studio is not a courtroom.
Yes.
So you allow me. So you allow me to answer your question.
This direct question. And that question demands a simple answer. And you speak for the NDC. What is the stance of the NDC on this matter?
So at least I am entitled to answer your question in the way
with yes or no.
Listen.
No, but because you've been answering this in several ways.
Your question cannot be answered with a yes or no. So allow me to give you an answer.
Is it that your party has not decided?
We are saying the party, the NDC is saying that it is important for us to have a national effort, to have, a multi-stakeholder engagement as far as this matter is concerned. That is our position. The NPP has a position that they are championing. Government has a position that it is championing. That position is that this whole process should be restricted to just the NDC and the MPP, the usual NDC, MPP, political football. We are saying no. We have an alternative view. Let us have an all-inclusive process. They are entitled to champion theirs. We will champion ours. And we think that ours will find favor with the majority of the people of this country. We believe that our position will find favor with key stakeholders in our democracy. And in the process of time, we think that if indeed His Excellency is genuinely committed to this process, he will heed our request. I don't see why he will allow this simple, objective, request to be a barrier to this process if he genuinely and sincerely believes in it, like he is saying.
If the MPP writes to the NDC tomorrow asking for a meeting,
we will meet them.
You meet them.
We will meet them, but we will still. Our position is clear that it will take more than a meeting between the NDC and the MPP to resolve this matter. We will meet them any day.
We will participate in any and discuss modalities for this meeting.
We are ready to do that. We are ready to meet the MPP
Don't
any
you
day.
Think, rather than taking your stance now, all that you needed to do was discuss with the MPP.
Are you saying that it is wrong for us to make proposals?
Hold on, I'm not saying so. I'm saying that rather than taking the stance that until this is done, we are not going to get anywhere, why don't you meet the MPP and discuss with them?
I listened to the press conference by the MPP addressed by his communications director. The national organizer of the MPP sat next to him at that press conference, and they indicated that they were even going to reconsider their invitation to our national chairman to meet with their chairman to discuss this matter. So let's be very careful with what we say. We have indicated an unequivocal, unconditional commitment to this process.
But
the president said that we are not at all. These are proposals. These are recommendations.
I see.
They are proposals, and the letter we sent to the president indicated that these are proposals.
It doesn't really affect
exactly. But when you also
engagement.
you see, it is said that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. He who seeks equity must do equity. You want us to come to the discussion table to discuss this matter dispassionately. At the same time, appointees of yours are recruiting MPP thugs, training them for purposes of the upcoming 2020 election. You think that is good faith?
And insist it's not true.
But so are you saying that you guys are liars? You were lying when you told the good people of this country that indeed you have investigated the matter and you have evidence that recruitment and training is ongoing? Are you saying that you lied? Are you saying you lied?
We didn't say
Just
that.
tell me.
We told you
so
that
you didn't lie.
There is a letter confirming that this activity is purported to be done.
Not purported.
According to the letter.
Please, not purported.
According to the letter.
No, this is your own story. My Joy Online. Joy News uncovers plan to train MPP party activists for election 2020. This is Joy News.
What was the basis of that? It's not the letter.
Not just the letter, because you conducted investigations into the letter. I have listened to Evans Mensah, your news editor, who says that you actually made calls to the security liaison officer and some MPP actors in the region. So beyond the letter, you have actually confirmed that these things are ongoing. That is what your headline says, that you actually have uncovered plans to train MPP party activists ahead of the 2020 general election. So I don't know why we are playing the ostrich with this matter.
There's a question, though, about whether you are going to write officially to the president on his letter a response to the response.
The party is considering that. The party is considering. But you see, the back and forth and all that
is delaying everybody.
We think that you see, this issue, we are sitting on a time bomb. Raymond, make no mistake about it. If we all don't help in ending this culture of impunity, this culture of hooliganism, it will blow up in our faces. We think that as an opposition party, we have demonstrated enough commitment. In spite of the atrocities and the brutalities which were meted on, to our party members at Ayawaso West Wogon, how some of them were beaten with hooks, cudgels, axes, innocent civilians shot, and all that. We are still saying that we are committed, we are ready to sit with you. Let us discuss these issues dispassionately, because Ghana is the only country we have. Our security is fundamental to our democracy and our sustenance as a country. So let us find solutions to this problem. Don't you think that we deserve some commendation?
I have a question.
What are we asking for? We are saying make the National Peace Council an arbiter, the mediator.
On the point you raised in your letter, which the presidency quotes as saying you are worried about the impact of this particular meeting or any form of dialogue as against the Ayawaso West Wogon Commission's sittings and the work of the commission. Are you clear in your mind, as the president states, that it will not have any impact on it?
I think that for that view of the president, we can allow it.
Okay.
It's clearly indicated that the discussions we're going to have will not have any bearing or will not undermine the work of the short commission.
Okay.
And that is something we are ready to grant him. It wasn't, it was a clarification that we sought from him, that doesn't he think that this process can undermine that. The most important thing is that we will have to conduct this whole process, this dialogue we are talking about in a way that the work of the short commission, even though we do not subscribe to it, will not be prejudged. So we are okay with his response to that issue. Okay. But our position on this matter is simple.
No, but you made a position. No, I have a question that need to end this conversation. Will the MPP and the NDC, your very good party, take a bold step by saying that, well, from today onwards, we and the Hawks, we and the Azoka boys have nothing in common?
We have stated that publicly. That as a political party, we have neither formed vigilante groups. We don't subscribe to, nor subscribe to any vigilante group. We don't sponsor them, and we have not recognized any militia group as part of our party structures, and we will never do that.
And you frown upon them.
Is that?
You frown upon them.
Of course.
Of course, but you see, you need to. Of course,
I know that our time is up, but you need to know the background
you know that
of the introduction, or even like the formation of groups like the Hawks and all that. It was as a result of the inertia on the part of states, security agencies.
That's the same argument the MPP gives for forming their own. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
DS was a deliberate party,
I appreciate the time here in our studios here today. Folks, that's when we end the Independence Day edition of UPfront. Thank you so much for joining us today.